All right, guys, we're starting to cruise through our Call It Courage. Remember, our main character, Mufasa, is scared of the sea, even though all of the boys his age are starting to master the sea. Let's continue. I'm on page 10. The night a new moon rose above the edge of the sea, silvering the land with a bloom of magic, wandering along the outer beach with Yuri. Mufasa heard laughing noises and drew hastily into the black shadows of the Panduras. Now that's a kind of tree. A group of boys were pulling their canoes above the high water mark and laying their plans for the morrow. Their voices were shrill with eagerness. Tomorrow at daybreak, one was saying, there will be Timmy and Tapu and Vuri. Ah, another voice broke in. It works for us all. How else will we become fishermen and warriors? How else will we feed our families and keep the tribe alive? True, Haikura is too poor. There are only the fish from the sea. A man must be fearless to provide food. We will go, every one of us. Mufasa, standing tense in the shadows, heard a scornful laugh. His heart contracted. Not all of us will go. He heard Kina. Now remember, Kina was his friend, but his friend was kind of mad at him for not being courageous. Kina scoffed. Not Mufasa. Ha! He is afraid. He makes good spears, offered very generously. Ha! That's woman's work. Mufasa was afraid of the sea. He will never be a warrior. Kina laughed again, and the scorn of his voice was like a spear thrust through Mufasa's heart. Aye. Kina was saying, I have tried to be friendly with him, but he is good only for making spears. Mufasa is a coward. The boys disappeared down the moonlit beach. Their laughter floated back on the night air. Mufasa stood quite still. Kina had spoken. He had voiced one for all the feelings of the tribe. Mufasa, stout heart, was a coward. He was the boy who was afraid. His hands were damp and cold. His nails dug into his palms. Suddenly a fierce resentment stormed through him. He knew in that instant what he must do. He must prove his courage to himself and to others, or he could no longer live in their midst. He must face Moana, the sea god. Face him and conquer him. He must. The boy stood there taut. That means tight, muscles tense, as a drawn arrow waiting to release. Off to the south, somewhere, there was another island. He drew a deep breath. If he could win his way to a distant island, he could make a place for himself among strangers, and he would never return to Haikura until he should have proven himself. He would come back with his head held high in pride, and he would hear his father say, Here is my son, Stoutheart, a brave name for a brave boy. Standing there with clenched fist, Mufasa knew a smarting on his eyelids and shut his eyes tight and sank his teeth into his lower lip. Far off in the Himime house, the old ones were singing. Their voices filled the night with rich sound. They sang of long voyages in open canoes, of hunger and thirst, of battle. They sang the deeds of heroes. The hair on the boy's damp forehead stirred. A long-drawn mutter of the reef sounded its note of warning in his ears. At his side, Yuri touched his master's hand with his cold nose. Mufatu pulled the dog close. We're going away, Yuri, he whispered fiercely. Off to the south, there are other islands. That's where we'll pause today. How many of you think he's going to go through with traveling all by himself on the sea that he's so afraid of? How many of you think he'll get afraid and not do it? We'll find out tomorrow.